Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you are doing well, whatever you have planned for your day. We are at the second game of the June the 16th date, 1987. We're north of the border here in Toronto for the Detroit Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays. Game number 431 on the overall season. We're at Exhibition Stadium, which is symmetrical. So singles are 1 to 9, left and right, home runs 1 to 11. And the starting pitching matchup for today's game, we have a couple of right-handers, not the best known pitchers for each of these teams, but Jeff Robinson for Detroit and Joe Johnson for Toronto. Detroit comes to the game 33-27, Toronto 41-20. So we take a look at, first of all, starting pitcher Joe Johnson and get his numbers on the replay as well as the season. He was 3-5 with a 5.13 ERA in the real season. In 67 innings of pitching, he gave up 77 hits. That's the real world numbers for Joe Johnson. The replay, he's 1-5 with a 5.62 ERA, 58 innings pitched, 75 hits. So he's only, it looks like, let me look at his numbers here. This may be his last start. Could be possible. I don't think he has any relief rating. No, he's strictly a starter. So I don't know. Let's see if this is his last start. No, he's got a couple starts left. Looks like start 13. So I believe he's got one more start after this. But he's nearing the end of his 87 season with the Blue Jays. So Joe Johnson finishing up the warm-up tosses. His wild pitch rating is a 9. His balk is a 0. Hold is a 0 because the catcher Witt's a 0 and he's a 0. In fact, both pitchers have a hold rating of 0. So won't be any changes to the stolen bases other than the -2 for being held. That's going to be pretty much going to cover it. Got our Toronto Blue Jay colored dice. One thing I may need to eventually do here with the time change, I didn't notice it yesterday because it was foggy and overcast, but I'm telling you what, with the hour difference, where it was really, it's, in the old fashioned way, it was 8 o'clock, we moved the clocks ahead. So the sun is at the 8 o'clock position. And I've been starting all these games at the 9 o'clock position. Well, the 8 o'clock position is literally right in my eyeballs. So I may have to either push this back an hour or bring it up an hour. I'm not sure because I'm right on the border. I think it's getting better now. So it looks like the sun is now finally it's peaked over to high enough in the sky where it's not directly in my eye. It's a little bit in my eye, but not like it was when I was setting this up about 15 minutes ago. But if I lean down or put my head down towards the paper, right about the 11 or 12, 10 o'clock position, that sun is coming right into my eyeballs. So I may have to do something with this to figure out what to do. I really don't want to push it back. If anything, I might push it up. But I don't know. It might be worse if I push it up. Who knows? We'll play it by ear. I don't know. I may have to get a little curtain or something put on that window or something up there. I don't really have curtains on. It's a window that doesn't really have curtains. So because it's an upstairs bedroom, we never use it. Just my game room. But I may have to get a small curtain and hook it up there because it's right. It's a little challenging today. I have to figure out how to work this thing. All right. Something that's not a challenge is the ceremonial first sip of the day before the first pitch. And that is good coffee. And we do have a Toronto Blue Jay colored dice, and we're ready to go. Lou Whitaker on the replay is hitting. If I sit back in the chair, I think I'm okay. If it's when I lean forward, I run into trouble. All right, 276 average on the replay, 13 homers, 44 driven in, at 265 real world. Underway from Exhibition Stadium, easy for me to say. 6-8 for a lefty. That's a fly to center field. So Whitaker will fly out to Mosby. And we're underway from Toronto. Next up is the designated hitter, Bill Madlock. He's hitting 250 in just 44 at bats, 11 out of 44. 2 homers, 3 driven in. He's 279 real world. 4-6, and that's a solid single off of Joe Johnson. So Bill Madlock, of course, he's no threat to run really, so they will not hold him on. And that brings up Kirk Gibson. Gibson, the left fielder, hitting .351, 11 homers, 35 driven in. He hit .277 real world. Tailing off a tiny bit. He was red hot there for a while. 5-5, and he's going to stay hot here. 1-4 is a triple. That's a double. The double is assumed to go to center field. Mosby has a 0 arm, but Madlock only runs at a 10. Not being held makes him an 11, but you got Trammell coming up. You're not going to run yourself out of an inning, so you'll put the brakes on it at second and third now for Alan Trammell, who is the league's leading hitter. So you're not going to take a guy off the base paths when you have Alan Trammell coming up. He's hitting .423 on the replay. 15 homers, 50 driven in. He hit .343 real world. With one out, the Blue Jays will play back. They want to prevent a big inning, if at all possible. So if they get a ground out, they'll play back and give up the run. 2-9, and that's a ground. That's exactly what they're going to do. Ground ball, shortstop beat. Well, let me double check it because it went to short. So I would almost guarantee that's going to be a run because it went to short. So second and third, infield back as a ground ball B is a 5. If hit the second short, batter out, runners advance. Okay. So had it gone to the corner infielders, they would not have advanced. But since it went to short, it will be an RBI ground out for Alan Trammell. And it's holding at third is Gibson. So it's 1-0 Tigers, and for Trammell, that is RBI 51. And the Tigers take a 1-0 lead, but now there are 2 away, and they're going to try to prevent the big inning by getting Matt Noakes out. It is a clutch situation with Gibson at second. And Noakes will lose a couple hits here, 2-6 and 2-7 and 3-5. So Joe Johnson trying to minimize the damage down to 1 run. 3-5, and that is not 3-5 is that single that gets taken away on the clutch. So that's going to turn to a pop out to second base. I'll circle that to say that was a clutch at bat that got blown away. 3-5 would have been a hit, but anti-clutch with 2 outs and a runner at second takes that away, and the Tigers only get 1. Look like they're going to get more than that, but they only get 1. And we go to the bottom of the first. It is Detroit 1 and Toronto coming to bat. Good morning, Dr. D and Phil. Jeff Robinson, let's look at his numbers on the real season. Robinson was 9-6 with a 5.37 ERA, 127 innings pitched, 132 hits. On the replays, 3-2 with a 4.83 ERA, 54 innings pitched, 62 hits. So that's where he is sitting right now, and he's going to be facing Tony Fernandez of the Blue Jays. One of Toronto's best hitters. It probably is his best hitter average-wise. 360 average for Fernandez in the replay. 2 homers, 23 driven in. He hit .322 real world. Switch hitter. 5-8, and that's a split. That's a 13, so he's going to line it right to second baseman Lou Whitaker for out number 1. 1 away, and that sends up Lloyd Mosby, center fielder. He's hitting .339 on the replay, 18 homers, 59 driven in. He hit .282 real world. And that blue dye got hung in there. Let's re-roll that. Don't know why it hangs in there like that, but it did. 6-8. 6-8 is a 1-2 double, and that is a 2. So it will be a double for Lloyd Mosby off of Jeff Robinson. Had a 10% chance, and he found it. Mosby with the double. That is his 15th double of the season. He had 27 of them real world. So Mosby is on. He's got very good speed. And Jesse Barfield, your batter. Barfield leads the league in home runs with 24. To go with 64 runs batted in and a .318 average. He had .263 in the real season. That's a 1. So wild pitch chance on Robinson is a 6. His balk is a 9, but we're looking at the 6. And there is no wild pitch. It is blocked by Noakes. Pitch to Barfield, 3-5, and that is a ground ball to short. Trammell has it, and we'll look Mosby back to second. And now a chance for Robinson to get out of it. by getting George Bell in a clutch situation. Bell in the clutch is actually rated completely neutral. He has no change whatsoever. Bell on the replay hitting 286, 20 homers, 56 driven in. He hit 308 real world. Robinson trying to pitch around that double. 6-2 to a righty, and he did. Ground ball first base C, so Evans will range for it, get it, flip to Robinson covering, and that will do it. Toronto leaves a runner on third base or in scoring position. So we go to the second inning with score 1-0 Tigers. It'll be Pat Sheridan up for the Tigers. Sheridan, Evans, and Lemon. Sheridan hitting 246 on the replay, 3 homers, 17 driven in. He hit 259 real world. That's a 5-6, and that's going to be a solid double off of Joe Johnson's card. So Pat Sheridan, leadoff double. He's aboard for Darrell Evans. Evans hitting 291 on the replay, 16 homers, 40 driven in. He hit 257 real season. Johnson in trouble early again. That's a 3-5 for Evans, and that's a walk. Toronto did get help on their bullpen as Jose Nunez was brought back either from injury or the minor leagues. I'm not sure which, but they got a fresh arm out there. Jose Nunez, he had been with the team for a while and been off the team for a while, but he's got a long relief rating, so if they need somebody to pitch 3 or 4 innings, he's the guy that could help save their bullpen, particularly if they get behind by a lot. Here's Chet Lemon hitting 207 on the replay, 4 homers, 17 driven in. He hit 277 real world. So definitely the underperformer of the Tigers. That's a 1. Joe Johnson, his wild pitch rating is a 9. And we get a wild pitch from Joe Johnson. So he's having all sorts of issues early on. That's going to take away the double play and put runners in scoring position for Chet Lemon. And the Blue Jays are going to already down 1-0, and they gave up a run on a ground out, so they're going to play the infield in, see if they can choke that run off. That is a 6-7. Ground ball shortstop X. That is Fernandez. He's a 1 E17. Whoa, we got a hopping dice here. Let's re-roll that. We get a 20 and a 1, so obviously that's a ground ball A, and a ground ball A with the infield in means that the runners are holding. That's an 11, and he is an E17 at short. There is no 11 there, so it's a ground ball to short. Fernandez checks both runners and holds them there. And there's one away. Infield remains in for Tom Brookins. Brookins, third baseman, hitting 251, 4 homers, 19 driven in. He hit 241 real world. That is a 6-8, and that's a pop-up to second base. Fielded by Orge. And now Johnson, one batter away from getting out of this complete mess he started with. But he still has to get Lou Whitaker in a clutch situation. Lou Whitaker in the clutch loses a hit, 210. And he also loses 3 hits in column 3, 3-2, 3-9, and 3-10. So definitely, for whatever reason, he is rated as anti-clutch. 4-6, though, is a 1-10 single. That's a 9. That's a base hit. It's a 1-star single that will score Sheridan from third. Evans will have to stop at third. But the Tigers take a 2-0 lead. RBI single from Lou Whitaker. And now that brings up Madlock. And Whitaker has a chance, if he would like, to try to steal. 4 or a 5 gets him a lead. Does not get it, so he will hold. And here's Madlock. He singled his first chance. 5-6, and that's the trouble again for Johnson. 1-4 is a triple. That's a 5. It'll be a double for Madlock. Double for Madlock. That will score Evans to make it 3-0. We'll see about Whitaker. He runs at a 15. He was being held, makes him a 14, but 2 outs makes him a 16. And the double again is assumed to go to center, so a 0 arm. 1-16, they're going to send him. So Whitaker coming to the plate. Here comes the relay from Fernandez. 1-16. He's safe. And he is. So it's a 2-run double for Bill Madlock. And just like that, Tigers take a 4-0 lead. Johnson may need some early relief. Here's Gibson. 3-10 for Gibson. That's a strikeout, and they finally get out of the inning. First strikeout for Johnson. But the Tigers put up a 3-spot thanks to a 2-run double from Madlock. And at the end of 1.5, it's 4-0 Tigers. We might be seeing Jose Nunez earlier than I thought. All right, due up for the Blue Jays. It'll be Ernie Whitt. Whitt on the replay hitting .295, 7 homers, 26 driven in. He at .269 in the actual season. 211, and that's he just missed a home run. 210 would have been a solid home run. 211, he pops it up to Darrell Evans. One away, and that will take us to Rance Mulliniks, the third baseman. Mulliniks hitting .355 on the replay, 6 homers, 24 driven in. He at .310 real world. 4-2, and that's a fly ball right field X. We are looking at Sheridan, 2E9. So pretty good fielder. 2 and a 7 should not be a problem. 2 and a 7. 2 and a 7 is an F2. That's not a problem. That's a 9 there, and he is an E9. 9, and there's no 9 there, so Sheridan will make the play. 2 down. And that brings up Willie Upshaw. Upshaw, the first baseman, hitting .205 on the replay. 2 homers, 18 driven in. He at .244 in the actual season. 410. That's a ballpark single check, which is a 1-9. That's a 2 base hit for Willie Upshaw. 2-out single for Upshaw, and that'll take us to the designated hitter, Fred McGriff. McGriff hitting .248 on the replay, 11 homers, 20 driven in. He at .247 real world. 11 on that, nothing going on. 4-5, and that's a fly to left. Gibson hauls it in. Nothing doing for the Blue Jays. So we played 2 innings at Exhibition Stadium. It's the Tigers 4 and the Blue Jays nothing. Jose Nunez is loosening in the Toronto bullpen just in case Johnson can't manage to get past the 3rd inning. Here's Alan Trammell. Trammell grounded to short. RBI grounded to short his first time up. 4-7, and that is a solid single to center field. Yet another hit for Trammell. And yet another hit allowed by Joe Johnson. 6 hits now already in 2+ innings. Trammell can get the lead on a 5. And doesn't get it, so he will hold. Here's Matt Noakes. 4-5, and that's a pop out to first base for Upshaw. 1 down. And that'll send up Pat Sheridan. 1-6 for Sheridan, and that is a split. That's a 2, so it will be a base hit for Sheridan. 1-star single. Puts runners at first and second. 1 out for Darrell Evans. Joe Johnson trying the patience of his manager, Jimmy Williams. 5-7, and that's a ground ball shortstop X. Possibly, since he's got a great shortstop, he might be able to get him out of the inning. We shall see. 1E17. 1 and a 14. That's a G1, so it would be a possible double play. That's an 11. So a G1 on a 1 and a 14 is a G1. E17 and an 11. E17, there's no 11, so that is a Giovanni's Tailor Shop. Tailor-made 6-4-3 double play to get Joe Johnson out of the mess. Giovanni's Tailor Shop in Lemoyne, Pennsylvania. If you're out in that area, be sure to see them. Tell them Demo sent you. They are the unofficial sponsor of this channel. but they are the official sponsor of the Giovanni's tailor-made double play of the game. And that was tailor-made right down Joe Johnson's alley because he needed help, and he got it. Here's Garth Orge. It's always nice to have a 1-rated shortstop playing behind you and a 1-rated center fielder. Neither one of those are a bad thing. All right, here's Garth Orge. He is hitting 160 on the replay. No homers, 12 driven in. He hit 210 real world. 2-5 for Orge. That's a strikeout. That's the first strikeout for Robinson. One away, and we're back to the top of the order for Tony Fernandez. 2-7 for Fernandez. He will ground it to Whitaker at second base. Quickly 2 up and 2 down for Lloyd Moseby. 5-8, and that is a split chance. That's a 1, so it will be a base hit. Moseby 2 for 2. And he's going to look to get the lead. Needs a 2 through 5 to get the lead. He gets it. He's going to go 19 being held to 17. 1-17. And he's in there. Stolen base for Moseby. And we'll get the stolen base totals for Moseby as they are now on the cards. Moseby in the real season stole 39 bases, got caught 7 times. This was stolen base number 14. He's been caught 4 times. But now 14 stolen base for Lloyd Moseby. He's in scoring position in a clutch situation for Barfield, and in the clutch he loses a hit on a 1-8 and on a 2-12. That's a 5-6, and that'll be a strikeout. Robinson struck him out. Strikeout number 2. That ends the inning. We go to the 4th. It is still Detroit 4 and Toronto 0. Johnson back out. Nunez has long since sat down, I should say. Hello, Jeremiah. Here's Chet Lemon. 2-8 for Lemon. That's a ground ball to short. Fernandez has it. 1 away. 1 down for Tom Brookins. 3-9, and that's a pop out to third base where Mr. Mullenix will take care of it. 2 up, 2 down. Joe Johnson might get a 1-2-3 inning for the first time, but he's got to get by Lou Whitaker. 3-12, and he does not. That's a 2-out walk to Whitaker. And now Whitaker, looking to get a lead, needs a 4 or a 5 to get that good lead. Gets an 8, doesn't do it. So he will have to hold, and here's Matlock. 5-10, and that's a ballpark blast for Bill Matlock. It's a 1-11, but that's a 19, so he will fly to left to end the inning. So Joe Johnson definitely caught a break there. Could have been a 2-run home run on a different D20 result, but he managed to pitch around it. And we go to the bottom of the 4th, still 4-0. Favor of the Detroit Tigers. Scheduled is George Bell, Ernie Witt, and Rance Mullenix. Those are your scheduled hitters. Sure, I don't have too much glare on him. I need to turn this down just a hair. Possibly. See if that works better. I don't know. We'll find out. All right. George Bell. 6-10, and that is an in-home run chance 1-9, and that's a 12, so he'll settle with the double. George Bell cracks a leadoff double, and maybe the Jays can get something going here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Second time through seeing Jeff Robinson. Maybe that makes a difference. Seeing him the second time. Here's Ernie Witt. 1-7 for Witt. That's a fly to right. And that's 1 away. Brings up Mullenix. 3-2 for Mullenix. That's a ballpark single check, and that's a 1. It's going to be a base hit. It's going to put runners on the corners with only 1 out. Best scoring opportunity for the Blue Jays yet, and here comes Willie Upshaw. Upshaw's got to avoid hitting to a double play, though. That would definitely curtail things in a big way. 3-8, and he just did it right there. I just talked about it, and it came to fruition right here. 3-8, ground ball, shortstop A. That's another Giovanni's Tailor Shop. Tailor-made double play. And it really took the starch out of the Blue Jays. Willie Upshaw, 6-4-3 double play. And just when the Blue Jays thought they had something going, it gets derailed. So we go to the 5th. And this will be the fatigue inning for both pitchers. So this probably will be Joe Johnson's last inning period because he's already labored through the first 4. Here's Kirk Gibson. Double and a strikeout. 5-7, and that is a ground ball shortstop X. Again, Fernandez is a 1. We know he's going to get to it. E17, his only errors are 15, 16, and 17. And that's nowhere near that, so nice play for Tony Fernandez. Got a nice clean hop on the carpet. And throws him out. Here's Alan Trammell. Trammell, 1-11 for Trammell. And that is a fly ball to right field. Hauled in by Barfield, 2 away. So Joe Johnson maybe has found himself over his last 2 innings. He might stick around till the 6th. You never know. Here's Matt Noakes. 1-5. And as soon as I say that, Matt Noakes cracks a home run. Look at that. 1-5. No doubt about it. Home run, Matt Noakes. For Noakes, that's home run number 17, RBI number 52 on the replay. Noakes in the real season hit 32 of them. He's got his 17th here. He had 32 homers and 87 RBI. And this is 17 home runs with his 53rd run batted in. And the Tigers take a 5-0 lead. So as soon as you thought Joe Johnson was out of the woodwork, Noakes comes up and gets him with a solo shot. Here's Sheridan, 2 for 2. That's a 6-7, and that's a strikeout. There's a dot there, but he's not tired yet. So that's the second strikeout for Joe Johnson. But they may cap him at that. I think they're going to cap Joe Johnson at the 5 innings. So he's going to go 5 innings. He's going to give up 8 hits, 5 runs, all earned. He walked 2 and struck out 2, it looks like. And Jose Nunez will come in and pitch long relief for the Blue Jays. Nunez has a relief of 3, so he can certainly eat some innings, as they say. So we go to the bottom of the 5th. This is also the fatigue inning for Jeff Robinson, but he does have a 5-0 lead to work with, so that makes a bit of a difference. Here's Fred McGriff. 1-7, struck him out. And for Robinson, that is strikeout number 3. Brings up Garth Orge. 2-7 for Orge. Struck him out. Back-to-back Ks. Jeff Robinson. Seems like he's in a groove at the moment. After a rough 4th inning, he's coming through pretty good. Double play must have perked him up. Here's Fernandez. 4-9, and that's going to be a walk. So he walks Fernandez with 2 outs. And that is the first walk issued by Robinson. Fernandez is going to try to get a lead, see if he can steal a base and get something started. 9, he won't do it, so he'll hold. Here's Mosby. 4-3, and that's a ballpark single check. 1-9, that's a 15. So line out to second base. We'll take care of that and end the inning. So Robinson will come back for the 6th. No problems. He's still got a 5-0 lead to work with. And now new pitcher for the Blue Jays is Jose Nunez. And we'll look at Jose Nunez's numbers on both the replay and on the real season before he faces Darrell Evans. So Nunez, let's get his numbers. Nunez on the real season, 5-2, 5.01 ERA, no saves, 97 innings pitched, 91 hits. On the replays, 0-2 with a 7.36 ERA, 26 innings pitched, 29 hits. So he is definitely what you would call a mop-up guy. And when you're down 5-0 in the 6th inning, that's kind of sort of what the definition of a mop-up guy is. So here's Evans. His job is just to keep Tigers where they are and give his team a chance. 3-7 for Evans. That's a strikeout. That's a good start for Nunez. He strikes out Evans. 1 away for Chet Lemon. That's a 1-3. It's a ground ball to third. Mullenix has it 2 down. One thing that's helping Nunez is he gets to start out facing the bottom third of the order. So he's not facing your Gibsons and Trammels early on. He's facing Lemon and Brookins. Big difference. 3-6, and that's a ground ball to short. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jose Nunez. And heck, even Joe Johnson got those guys out. So he's like, why don't you let me pitch to them too? But Jimmy Williams says, I've seen enough of you. So we go to the bottom of the 6th. Robinson has almost entire fatigue remaining. He only gave up a walk in his fatigue inning. So he's definitely still good to go. And leading off for Toronto will be Jesse Barfield. It'll be Barfield, Bell, and Witt. 6-3, and that's a fly ball left field X. We're looking at Gibson. It's a 3-E-10 is Gibson. 3-1. That's going to be a double. Just making sure he doesn't make an error to make things worse. 3-1 is a double. And that is a 13, and he is an E10. There's a 14, 15, 16, 17, but no 13. So it won't be an error, but it will be a double for Jesse Barfield. As Gibson not able to get there. Here's George Bell. That's a 3-3 for Bell. Ground ball to third. Brookins has it, and we'll look Barfield back to second base. 1 away. For Mr. Ernie Witt. He's 0 for 2. Mr. Witt. 3-6 for Ernie Witt, and that's a ground ball to short. And once again, Alan Trammell will get it and look Barfield back. And Barfield got that leadoff double, but he has not moved. And it's up to Rance Mullenix in a clutch situation. He loses a hit on 1-11. He also loses hits on 2-7 and 2-8. That's a 2 chance for a balk or pass ball. Robinson has a 9 balk rating. Noakes has a 3 pass ball rating. So we're checking the pass ball, which is only a 1-3. And there's no pass ball. So here comes Mullenix. 4-4, and that's a base on balls. And for Robinson, that is his second walk. So 2 on, 2 outs. Clutch situation now for Willie Upshaw. Upshaw in the clutch. Loses a hit on 3-10. Everywhere else he is neutral. 1-7, and that's a strikeout to end the inning. Jeff Robinson, strikeout number 5. And he has tossed 6 scoreless at this potent Blue Jay lineup, giving Sparky Anderson more than he can ask for. And Sparky's going to let him go to the 7th as long as he's still effective. They're going to keep him in there. Nunez back out now. He's got to deal with the top of the order, Whitaker, Madlock, and Gibson. 4-7, and that is a base on balls. And Nunez with that +2 is going to encourage Whitaker to try to get a lead. 4 or 5. Doesn't get it, so he'll hold. And here is Bill Madlock. (1-5) for Madlock. That's a single 2 stars. And that'll put runners at the corners with nobody out. And now Nunez finding it difficult when he gets to the good hitters to take care of business. And now he's got to deal with Kirk Gibson first and third, nobody out. Blue Jays playing back for a double play. They need outs in the worst way. Even if it costs them a run, they need outs. 5-4. Ballpark single check. 1 to 9. That's a 13, so they get a break. Yeah, I won't do the ground ball second base. See, there'll be a line out to second because there's base runners on. So line out, but nobody moves up. And here's Trammell. Double play will now get him out of the inning. So Toronto's playing for that double play. 4-3. It's a ground ball first base X. We'll see if see if Upshaw can turn it. They were not holding Madlock on, so Upshaw keeps this 2E11. Possible double play. 2 and a 9. Going to be close. 2 and a 9 is a G2. They can't quite. A 10 would have been a double play, but a 9 is a G2. And that's a 9, and he is an E11 at first base. There's a 6 and an 8, but no 9. So they get the force play 3 to 6, but the return throw not in time. And Alan Trammell has his second RBI ground out. And the Tigers lead at 6-0. They almost had the double play, but just could not quite turn it in time. And now Trammell needs a 5 to get the lead. Doesn't get it, he'll hold, and here comes Matt Noakes. 6-2, and that's a split. 1 to 18 is a single. That's a base hit. So runners are at the corners now. I believe that was a 2-star. Yes, no, it's a 1-star. So runners at first and second. 2 outs. Clutch situation now for Sheridan. 2, chance for balk or pass ball. Looking at a balk rating on Nunez, and we'll check his balk rating from the computer. Nunez has a wild pitch rating of 6, a balk rating of 4. 1 to 4, he will balk the runners over. He does not, so he pitches to Sheridan. 1-6, and that's a split. 1 to 6 is a single. That is a 6. So that's going to load the bases. And Mr. Nunez having trouble getting out of the inning. Bases are now loaded. And that'll take us to Darrell Evans. Evans is 0 for 2. Clutch situation. He gains a bunch of hits here. 1-6 and 111. I'm sorry, 1-6, 110. Not a hits, but 2 hits. 1-6 and 110. 3-4, though, but it doesn't matter what he did. That's a grand salami right there. That's going to be the coup de grace for the Blue Jays in this ball game. 3-4 is a solid home run. Had we brought a lefty in, that would have struck him out, but when the game's out of hand, you're not going to sit there and play lefty-righty. Plus, your bullpen is pretty well overworked, so they need a day off. So this is going to be Nunez's game just to eat some innings. That is a grand salami, 3-4. That is gone. 3-4. So the inability to turn that double play on the Trammell ball has just cost them a bunch of runs right here. Home run for Evans. It is his 17th of the replay. He had 34 real world, and he has RBIs 41, 42, 43, and 44. So the grand salami, the coup de grace, as they say, and that will pretty much drive the stake through the Blue Jays, and they will be done for the day. Grand salami makes it a 10-0 ball game in favor of Detroit. Here's Chet Lemon. I agree, Dr. D. I mean, you got to think of it's not the battle, it's the war, as they say. 312 is a single. And when you've got to rest your bullpen for closer games, you bring out this. I mean, this may be a chance where you might see a position player pitch in this game before it's over, said and done with. But the 10-0 lead is going to mean Sparky's going to let Jeff Robinson pitch as long as he wants. 4-4, and that is a fly ball center field X. So Mosby is a 1, so we know he's going to get to it. We're just checking the E7, and all he has to avoid on an E7 is 3, 4, 15, 17, and 18, which he barely does. That's a 14, so he had to avoid 15. He did. That's a 14. So they send 9 to the plate, and 5 of them cross the plate. We head to the 7th inning stretch, but a lot of the folks at Exhibition Stadium have hit the exits. It is 10-0 Tigers against the first place Blue Jays. So the Brew Crew are the biggest recipients of this because they are tied with Toronto, and they can take the lead in the division if they can beat Minnesota later in the week. Hello, Trenton. Good to see you. Here's Fred McGriff. That's a 5-3, and that's a ground ball pitcher X. And we'll see, because they don't have the X chance, or the range rating, I should say, on the card for the pitcher. They only have it for the E rating. Robinson is a 3, so he's a 3E23 on that ground ball first base X. 3E23, 3 and a 3. That's going to probably sneak through for a base hit, I would assume. 3 and a 3 is going to be a single. That's a 12, and he is an E23. And there's a 12, so it's going to be a single plus an error on Robinson. So McGriff will take second base. First sloppy play by the Tigers, and that can happen when you have a 10-0 lead. You can kind of relax a bit and maybe not pay attention. So McGriff is on second base, nobody out for Garth Orge. That's a 5-8, and that's a strikeout for Robinson. That's his 6th. And Orge has the hat trick. He struck out all 3 times. Here's Tony Fernandez. It's a 6-7. Switch hitter is a ground ball second base X. We're looking at Whitaker. Whitaker's a 2E20. 2E20, a 2 and a 12. Should be good. 2 and a 12. 2 and a 12 is a G1. That's a 7. And Whitaker is an E20. There's no 7 there, so it's a ground ball to second for the out number 2. Going to third is McGriff, but that's almost not even important because now they're 2 away. And here's Lloyd Mosby. So Robinson trying to at least pitch 7 innings if possible. .38, and that's going to be a single, 116. So finally Toronto gets on the board. It might be an unearned run because he would not have been at the plate for that. 3-8, single, 1 star. So he would not have been on third base if it hadn't been for the error. But the Blue Jays are at least off to Schneid. Robinson is now showing tired. They're going to try to get him through this inning before they go to the bullpen. And Jesse Barfield, your batter. Robinson is giving Sparky more than he could have asked for. 1-9, and that is a double, 1 single, 2-20, so it will make this run earned now. So it is a single, and that will put runners at the corners. And now the Tiger bullpen is starting to stir a bit. They do have left-hander Mark Thurman loosening in the pen with these lefties coming up after George Bell. So this is going to be Robinson's last batter. If he doesn't get George Bell, he's coming out of the ball game. 1-6, and he doesn't get him. 1-13 is a home run. That's gone. George Bell hit 47 home runs in the real season. He just hit home run number 21 on a 1-13, a 3-run shot, and all of a sudden it's a 4-score inning for Toronto. And now it's gotten Sparky's attention. And that's going to be all for Jeff Robinson. Probably went a little bit too long with him, but with a 10-0 lead, he figured he had leeway. It just didn't know it was going to collapse that quick. 3-run home run for George Bell. Home run 21, RBIs 57, 58, and 59. Scoring is Mosby and Barfield. It is now a 10-4 good buddy game. Get your CB radios out. And before Ernie Witt steps to the plate, the Tigers will bring on a new pitcher. And it will be Mr. Mark Thurmond. Thurmond and let's see here, 6 2/3 for Robinson. And he's going to give up 10 hits, 4 runs. So he had a really good outing going. Kind of went a little bit too long, and it turned into somewhat of a mediocre outing. He did strike out 6 and walk 2. So Mark Thurmond will bring him on in the computer so he can face Ernie Witt. And we'll get the numbers on Thurmond. Thurmond is on the real season 0-1 with a 4.23 ERA and 5 saves. On the replay, he's really been struggling. 2-2. He does have the 5 saves, but his ERA is 9.74. 32 in each pitch, a whopping 54 hits. Of course, he had 62 hits and 83 hits, 62 innings and 83 hits in real world. So he did give up a lot of hits per innings pitched. So Ernie Witt is your batter, but they will pinch hit for Ernie Witt. Blue Jays are going to the bench, and they're going to bring in their right-handed catcher, Charlie Moore. So Charlie Moore will get a pinch hitting appearance for Ernie Witt, and he will stay in the game to catch in the 8th inning. Charlie Moore, let's bring in Charlie Moore. Witt was 0 for 3, so he did nothing on his side. So let's going to give Charlie Moore a chance. And let's see what Charlie Moore, longtime Brewer, see what he's done. On the replay, Charlie Moore is actually 0 for 10. He hasn't been there long, but he's 0 for 10. Has not got hit. He hit 215 real world with the homer. So, hey, Joel. Here's Charlie Moore. 6-10 against Thurmond. Ground ball third base, actually, we're looking at Brookins. Brookins is a 3E21. 3-17, he'll get to that, but that's a 17 error rating, so that could be a problem. Third base, he is an E21, and we're looking at a 17, and he escapes. 15, 16, and 18 were errors, but not 17. So Brookins is able to stay with that, make the play, and that's going to do it for the Blue Jays, but they do put 4 runs on the board to at least act like they care. And we go to the top of the 8th with the score 10-4. Let's see about Nunez. Do they want to continue with Nunez or not? Or do the Blue Jays want to do something else? They really don't want to go to their bullpen because it's really been overworked. So I think they're going to have Nunez pitch one more inning, or at least attempt to pitch one more inning. He'll be facing top of the order. In Lou Whitaker. So let's see what we've got. First, we got to bring in Charlie Moore to catch, or leave him in to catch, I should say. Charlie Moore. And he'll be facing now Lou Whitaker, Mr. Nunez will. Whitaker walked and scored to lead off the previous inning. 2-10 for Whitaker. That's a solid single for Sweet Lou. And up 10-4, they will call off the dogs, will Sparky, and not have him try to steal. So he's at first for Bill Madlock. Madlock's had a good day. He's 3 for 4. 6-6, and that's a ground ball second base C, so that will get the runner Whitaker to second base on the ground out. 1 away for Mr. Gibson. Gibson, quiet day. He doubled in the first, but gone 0 for 3 since. Whitaker at second, 1 out. 1-4, and that is a ground ball to third. That'll freeze Whitaker at second base, so 2 down. And now it's an interesting decision. Do you walk Trammell? I don't think you can. I think you just pitch to him and hope for the best. Noakes has already blasted you for a home run, so might as well pitch to Trammell in the clutch. 6-4, and look at this. 1-11 is a home run. That's a 20. It'll be a triple for Whitaker. A triple for Whitaker. Had they walked him and pitched to Noakes, it'd been the same result on a 6-4. So a triple for Alan Trammell, and we'll check his triples on the season. He had 3 triples on the season. This is triple number 2 on the replay. So a triple for Alan Trammell. And the Tigers get one of the runs back. They lead it 11-4. And here's Matt Noakes. That's a 3-8 for Noakes, and that's a split chance. 1-10 is a single, and of course it's going to be in their wheelhouse to get the base hit. Noakes with his 3rd hit of the game makes it 12-4. And now Nunez is tired by the computer, but Jimmy Williams is going to try to get this last out of him, if at all possible. 2-7, and he does. He actually strikes out Sheridan to end the inning, but 2 more runs come across. It is now an 11-4 ball game. I mistakenly, no, not 11-4. What am I talking about here? It is now, should be 12-4. Yeah, 12-4. Okay, that's what I thought. So we go to the bottom of the 8th. We will get Mark Thurman back out. And I think for Toronto, I think Jimmy Williams is going around the dugout asking for volunteers from his position players who he wants to pitch. Right now it'll be Mullenix, Upshaw, and McGriff against Thurman. 5-5, and that's a double 1-18. So a double for Rance Mullenix. Doesn't face lefties very often, but when it's a blowout, you might as well leave him in there. And he cracks a double. Here's Willie Upshaw. And of course, I get spam calls coming in. Like I need those. 6-10. Lefty. He's a catcher X. We're looking at Noakes. He's a 4E1. Ooh, 18. That can be problems. 4 and a 5 could be one thing, but then that E8, that when you get the 18 like that, that's never good news. So 4 and a 5 for a catcher. 4 and a 5 is a P/P. 18 with an E1. So even on an E1, well, he does avoid it because E1 is only a 17 for an error. So it's a P/P, which means we are looking on the P/P, we are looking at the wild pitch rating of the pitcher to determine if a pass ball has occurred. So Mark Thurman's wild pitch rating is a 13. So 1-13, we got a pass ball. And we do. So it's a pass ball on Noakes. And that'll send the runner to third with nobody out for Willie Upshaw. 6-11, lefty. Ground ball first base X. That's Darrell Evans. He's a 4E5. 4-11. He should get to it, but it probably will score the run. Let's see here. 4-11 is a G3. So, yep, the run's going to score. That is a 14, and he is an E5 at first base. There's a 14 right there. So not only will the run score, it's actually going to be an error on Evans. They won't get anybody out because of that 14. So E3 on Darrell Evans scores the run. It's an earned run because the run would have scored regardless on that G3. So Upshaw is aboard. Here's Fred McGriff. Tigers getting a little bit sloppy with this big lead. 6-6, and that's a single to center field by McGriff. Put runners at first and second, nobody out. Now Detroit might have to go to the bullpen again very shortly because Thurman seems to be having issues. Here's Garth Orge. He has struck out 3 times, but now he's facing a lefty, so maybe he'll have a better chance. That's a 2. Balk or pass ball. We're looking at the balk rating on Thurman. And Thurman's balk rating, I believe, was 0. When I checked his wild pitch rating. Yep, it's 0, so no balk. Orge, 310 against the lefty. Fly to center. On away. Back to the top of the order for Tony Fernandez. First and second, one out of now a 12-5 game. 4-7, switch hitter batting right-handed. That's a single, 2 stars. That'll score 1 run and send McGriff to third. And now Detroit has to look at some serious implications of bringing in a bullpen arm before Toronto thinks they can get back in this game. But he's going to give Thurman one more batter against the lefty Mosby. Then they're going to the bullpen for a right-hander. And the right-hander they're going to go to, I believe, is Eric King. Eric King loosening in the bullpen. So here is Mosby. With runners at the corners. That's a 1. So Thurman, we know from before, his wild pitch rating, because it caused the pass ball, his wild pitch rating is a 13. It is a wild pitch, and that will score another run. 3 runs in for the Blue Jays. Very sloppily played game. No question about it. It's now 12-7. Still only 1 out. Here's Mosby. 1-9, and that's a triple 1-8. That's a 19. It'll be a single 2 stars. That'll score the run, and that's going to do it for Thurman. Sparky says, let me get him out of here. And don't look now, but it's 12-8, and this game is not over, says Toronto. So Thurman is gone. Not fast enough for Sparky, obviously. And they need a right-hander. Let's see. It's gotten a little closer now, so they may not go to King. They may go to somebody else. Let's see who they've got that's they can go to. Well, they got Henneman, Guillermo Hernandez, and King. Those are their choices. They may go to Henneman here to get out of the mess. I don't know. That's what they're going to do. They're going to go to Henneman. So they're going to not going to be Eric King. It's going to be Eric Henneman. Or Mike Henneman, I should say. Mike Henneman is going to get the call. Not King, but Henneman. And I didn't think, I'm pretty sure he was not expecting to pitch when the score got 10-0. But he's in there. Henneman, 11-3, 2.98 ERA real world with 7 saves. In the replay, 3-3, 3 saves, and a 4.50 ERA. So he'll be facing Jesse Barfield and George Bell back-to-back with Mosby at first and only 1 out. Henneman has a -5 on his hold, which makes him a -4 when you put him with Noakes. Mosby still might be trying to get that lead, though. Let's see. If he got the lead, it'd be a 19 -2 being held to 17. Now, down by 4, they're not going to take the chance. So, not with Barfield and Bell coming up. You're not going to run yourself out of an inning. Although it's tempting. 1, so we got a wild pitch chance on Henneman. Boy, the Tiger pitchers are just having a field day with these wild pitches. Henneman, 14 wild pitch. That's an 18, so this time Noakes blocks it. Barfield, 5-5, and that's a split chance. 1-4 is a single, but that's a 15, so he lines it to Trammell for out number 2. 2 down, and here's George Bell, who homered his last time up. He had a 3-run homer his last time up. See what he can do here with Mosby at first and 2 outs. 4 runs already in to make it a 12-8 ball game. That's a 3-4 for Bell, and that's a ballpark single check. It's a 1-9. That's a 6, so the inning continues. And the ninth man to bat in the inning, Ernie Witt's coming up. Witt is 0 for 4. I'm sorry, it's not going to be Ernie Witt. It's going to be Charlie Moore because they pinch hit for Witt when they had the lefty in there. So it's actually going to be Charlie Moore, not going to be Ernie Witt. You can't pitch hit for Charlie Moore. He's the only catcher they have left. So they're hoping that Charlie Moore can come through in a clutch situation, no less. He is not rated for clutch at all. So we'll see what that's a 1 on Henneman again. Possible double, wild pitch on a 14. And this time he doesn't cork the wild pitch. He was egging to do it, and he finally did it. Now a basic could score 2 more runs. It's a Sparky doesn't know what he's watching here. He's just like, what the heck is going on? That's a 6-5 off of Henneman. Fly to center is going to finally end the inning. But 4 runs will come in. They end up all being not going to all be earned because of the E3 here. So one of those runs is going to be unearned. But we'll get the totals here after we go to the box score to get the totals on Thurman. And we'll get the totals on Nunez as well. So the final out was a fly to center by Charlie Moore. Now we go to the box score because I need to clean up some pitching lines for these relief pitchers. For Nunez, he's going to go 3 innings. He's going to give up 8 hits and 7 runs. 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. Thurman is going to go 2/3 of an inning. And he's going to give up 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. No walks, no strikeouts. And now the Blue Jays will bring in a new pitcher. They will not bring in a position player since they are only down by 4. If it was a 12-4 game, they would bring in a position player, but they won't do that here. They will go to their bullpen and bring in Gary Lavelle. If anybody has rest on the team, it's Gary Lavelle because he's fairly new to the team. He's only pitched 7 innings, but he's 4-0 already in the replay. So it won't be 4-0 here unless his team makes a dramatic rally. But he has been vulturing some wins coming out of their bullpen. On the real season, you can see he was 2-3 with a 5.53 ERA and 1 save. On the replay, 4-0, no saves, but a 9.82 ERA, 7 innings pitched, 13 hits, 7 walks, and 7 strikeouts. He has a +1 hold. Charlie Moore is a +2. That makes him a +3, but I don't think the Tigers are necessarily going to be running anywhere. Darrell Evans will lead it off. He homered his last time up. 12-8 Tigers. 12 runs, 16 hits, and 2 errors for Detroit. 8 runs, 15 hits, and no errors for Toronto. In a wild one, for sure. Here is Mr. Evans. 2-2 for Evans. That's a split chance. 1-12 is a single, and of course it's going to be a base hit because the offensives have been ruling the day in this game. Actually, he was facing a lefty, so it's a 1-8, but that fits even more. 1-2 still fits into that 1-8 I was reading over here. It should have been reading over here. It's still going to be single either way you go. So Evans reaches on a single. See if Sparky wants to make a move with a pinch runner and a better defender for Evans because Evans is not the greatest first baseman in the world. And I'm not sure if they got anybody else that can play first base. That's any better, I should say. Doesn't look like because they don't have Dave Bergman. He's not on the roster. He would normally be the defensive replacement. The only guy they got is Madlock, and he's DHing. And the only other player, I think one other player was over there that's even rated for first base, and that is Mike Heath, the backup catcher, and he's a 4 E25. He's worse than Evans, so we'll keep him where he is. If they had a better defensive option, they would have used him, but they don't have it. Here's Lemon. 2-9 against the lefty. That's a ground ball shortstop bay. It's another Giovanni's Taylor shot. Tailor-made double play. That is the third tailor-made double play of the game. 2 now turned by Toronto, 1 turned by Detroit. And that certainly helps Lavelle out of a sticky situation. Clears the bases now with 2 outs for Tom Brookins. 110 for Brookins. He grounds it to Mullenix to end the inning. So we go to the bottom of the 9th. Bottom of the 9th, Henneman will try to finish out this game and give the Tigers the victory, which they thought was in the bag a long time ago, but recently has been a little bit in doubt. Mullenix, it'll be Mullenix, Upshaw, McGriff, all these lefties coming up, but they really don't want to have to use Guillermo Hernandez unless they really have to. So Henneman pitching to Mullenix. 311 from Mullenix is a ballpark blast. That's a 10, and that's an 11. That's gone. Rance Mullenix, a leadoff home run. Look at it again. 311 is a ballpark blast. He has normal power. Exhibition Stadium is 1-11, and that's a 10. So Rance Mullenix greets Henneman with the home run, and we may see Guillermo Hernandez after all. Might have to. Mullenix, that's his 7th home run of the replay. He had 11 real world. That's his 7th, RBI number 25, and all of a sudden it's 12-9. And you know what? Sparky says, I'm not screwing around. They are going to get Guillermo, don't call me Willie Hernandez, and try to finish out this ball game and not give Sparky a major headache. So Willie Hernandez is on. It is now a save situation with a 3-run lead. Let's see here. Hernandez is a hold of -2, so that makes him a -1. So Willie Hernandez on the real season, let's get his numbers on the replay as well. Now a wild 12-9 game is broken out. And we go to Willie Hernandez out of the bullpen. Hernandez in the real season, 3-4, 3.67 ERA and 8 saves. On the replay, he's not done so well. 0-2 with 3 saves, but a 7.20 ERA. 10 innings pitched and 11 hits. So Willie Hernandez, going to see what he can do here against Upshaw. And we got a pinch hitter coming up from McGriff, I do believe. Might be Cecil Fielder coming up from McGriff. I'm not sure yet. Here's Upshaw, lefty against Willie Hernandez. 5-6, lefty. That's a strikeout for Willie Hernandez. 1 away. Close the book on Henneman, so I can go get Henneman's numbers off the box score just to make sure they're accurate. Henneman went 2/3 of an inning and gave up 2 hits and a run, which was the home run by Mullenix. No walks, no strikeouts. All right, so Fred McGriff is your scheduled hitter, but he will be pulled back. He only faced lefties 9% of the time in the 1987 season, and they will go to the guy who clubs left-handed pitching, that being Cecil Fielder. Cecil Fielder faced lefties 87% of the time. So Cecil Fielder will be your pinch hitter and would stay in the game to DH if it happened to go extra innings. So Cecil Fielder. And we'll bring on Fielder to get his stats on the replay. Cecil Fielder. So Fielder in the replay is hitting .291, 13 homers, 25 driven in. On the real season, he had .269 with 14 home runs. So Cecil Fielder seeing what he can do. Dr. D, anytime you come into the game to pitch 1 inning and it's a 3-run lead, you get a save. That's the way the save rule is. 110 against the lefty, and that's a strikeout. So Willie Hernandez going for He's come in and struck out the first two he's faced. He won't face Garth Orge either because Garth Orge is 0 for 4. They're going to pinch hit with Kelly Gruber and see if Gruber can keep the game going. Gruber would stay in the game to play third base, and they'd move. I'm sorry, stay in the game to play second base. Gruber's going to pinch hit here in the ninth. Try to get it over to the top of the order again for Fernandez. Kelly Gruber, let's bring him on in the computer and get his numbers on the replay. He's a much better hitter, obviously, than Garth Orge is. So that'll leave Rick Leach and Manny Lee on the bench for the Blue Jays. That's the bench players they have remaining. So Kelly Gruber on the replay hitting .322, 7 homers, 23 driven in. He at .235 real world. So Hernandez to Gruber. 3-7, struck him out. Willie Hernandez comes in and strikes out the side. Talk about putting out the flames. He did it. He came in and struck out all three that he faced. And you talk about taking care of business. He did it. So that's going to do it. The Tigers will hold on and win this game by the score of 12-9. Definitely what you would call a wild one. To have a 10-0 lead and still have to sweat it out is really something. Hernandez gets his 4th save of the season. The win, of course, will go to Robinson. He is now 4-2. And the loss will go to Joe Johnson. He is now 1-6. Gary Lavelle went 1 inning, gave up a hit, nothing else. So the final line score for the Tigers, 12 runs, 17 hits, and 2 errors. They left on 6. For the Blue Jays, 9 runs, 16 hits, and no errors. They left on 9. Player of the game, well, I'm leaning towards Darrell Evans. He hit the grand slam that really put the game away. And when it took it to a huge score, Evans went 2 for 4 with the grand slam. Could give it to Noakes. He went 3 for 5. So it could go either way there. But Willie Hernandez does get the 4th save of the season. And that will do it here from Toronto. Toronto drops to 41-21. Detroit 34, a much-needed victory, 34-27. So that gets them a little bit closer in the standings. Not that close, but a little bit closer, depending on what Milwaukee does. If we go to the standings, Detroit now 7 games back of Milwaukee, 6.5 back of Toronto. But Milwaukee's got a half-game lead, but they're playing Minnesota next. So depending on what happens in that game is depending on whether or not Toronto is tied for first place or whether or not they drop a game back. So in the real season at this point, Detroit was 33-28. They're now 34-27. So I'd say it's pretty close. Toronto is now 41-21. In the real season, they were 40-22. So I'd say pretty doggone close, to be quite frank with you. So let's look at the next game on the schedule. And speaking of Milwaukee, we will be there. It is going to be the Twins and the Brew Crew from Milwaukee. Frank Viola against Chuck Krim. That'll be the matchup tomorrow. That'll be the matchup for tomorrow is Frank Viola and Chuck Krim, Minnesota and Milwaukee. Thursday will be in Cleveland. It'll be Boston and Cleveland. Al Nipper against Ken Schramm. And then on Friday, we'll be in California. It'll be Texas and California. Jose Guzman against John Candelaria. Oakland and Kansas City. Chicago and Seattle will be played offline. And that'll finish out the June 17th date. So that's going to do it from here. Game 431 is in the books. Hope you enjoyed that presentation of Strat-O-Matic. It was a wild one for sure. Sometimes you get those. You never can tell. And, possibly I could have played a little bit better for Toronto managing-wise, but when you're down 10-0, you're not going to burn your tired bullpen. You're going to bring in a fresh arm and let him go as long as he can, which is what they did, not knowing your team's going to come back and score, 9 runs. They didn't know that. So just the way it works out. But that's going to do it from here. Hope you have a great day, whatever you have planned. Till next time, enjoy playing whatever game you choose to play. However you choose to play it, and I will see you guys down the road.